1-5-6 drill that we've been doing from the downward leg into Mark 3 and 4. So if you're 1-5-6 coming into Mark 3, Mark 4 and the final bit, what do you do primarily for the number 1? He's got the most work to do. And then how do you counter it for if you're 2, 3, 4, right? 5 and 6, pretty self-explanatory, try to pass somebody. Okay, so a couple keys here. First one is, this is a scenario where we can let a boat go, okay? But there's a time and place and a way to do that. So that's interesting. And that's probably the only thing I need to disclaimer to start. So, long story short, the way to do that is at Mark 4. You have to change the scenario before Mark 4. Okay? If you round this mark in 1-5-6, it's race over for the most part. You need a miracle to win. Like you can try to force them, like if the other team only has to sail quite averagely to hold that 2, 3, 4 on the last beat. The only caveat to that is if you compress the entire situation so much and you keep the 1, but you just compress the entire situation so much round 4 that everybody's rounding like overlapped. And it's not a true 1-5-6. Your 5 and 6 are already like have a piece of somebody and can pass them. Okay, that's the only way you could maybe do this without having to let a boat go. Okay, because some way this guy has to achieve a pass back and get one of these guys in the front of the green. So if he just compresses everything so it's just one giant cluster at Mark 4, that could work. Okay, but we're going to talk about the way you do it where you let a boat go. Okay, so first thing is our Mark 3 mark traps. Okay, so for all of our mark traps, a key thing that you guys want to do is use all the space available that you possibly can. Okay, now if you try to do this too early, too far away, it potentially opens you up to being vulnerable and they can capitalize on any mistake you make. But so you have to have good judgment. But what we don't want to do is just go to the mark, stop, and that's called out our mark trap, right? And then hope that from there we can get them in a bad situation. We want to start ranging on this boat, tactically positioning from really quite far away. Okay, so like really it'd be quite good to enter the zone like here on the guy. You know, maybe here, but like in touch, right? In touch with right of way and inside. Okay, and then from there, there's 2 different ways, I guess, really you can make this mark trap take a long time. 1 is making your boat go very slow, right? And 2 is sailing the maximum amount of distance within the zone. Okay, so that's really what we want to focus on here, sailing the maximum amount of distance within the zone. So this guy gets in the zone, right, and just sails way down here, right? If this guy's smart, he goes wide and takes away this guy's ability to use that distance because he's going to have to defend, right? If this guy's not smart, he follows. If he does follow, right, then green's goal is to just sail the maximum amount of distance he can without letting a boat go. This guy almost gets around and then he pins up, right? And then you can try stopping your boat potentially at times. You have to be careful that you break overlap. All right, so anyway, Mark 3, the 1's goal is really just to compress everything as much as they possibly can. And make sure that they exit the situation still holding the 1 and in control. That means they can't allow this guy to drive into overlap to where they can bluff him. Ideally, he does something to where he stops these guys up and gaps them slightly onto this leg. But that's not necessary. Okay, and then from here, it's more of the same. You're doing everything you possibly can to slow them down. So you're probably going high. And you don't actually really need to be gapped out in front of these guys to pull off that jibe move. It sort of helped. So you could try to gap them so that you can get more radical with the jibe move is one thing. But I think we'll leave that aside and we want to talk about 100% playing back the entire time, right? So this guy's on these guys' gas, he's kind of fishing, he's going slow. If they go above him, he's gonna luff, right? And then brake overlap and still own the zone, right? If they go below him, they're in his bad air, so he just gasses as bad as he can, okay? And once we get in the zone, okay, now this would be the ideal scenario for yellow, right? You can't get all of them if they're just spread out and bow even with each other, but that's unrealistic that they'd be that tuned in. First guy should go wide, right? If he's smart. A lot of the times, they're too dumb to. Okay. If he does go wide, this is probably the boat that green lets go. Okay. So what green wants to do here, it's situational because you have to respond to whatever these boats do. But let's say this guy goes wide and this guy goes inside. That would be kind of ideal because he knows he's going to let this boat go anyway. Okay, this guy's a little bit behind. Green, in the best case scenario, sails maximum amount of distance possible before rounding this mark. Okay, that just means this guy's following him, also doing all that distance, and just the whole race is compressing and slowing down. So this guy can sail past the mark this way, right? This guy's maybe following, thinking he's going to end up going outside or whatever. This is, that guy's not playing that smart if that's the case. But the thing is, if green does this and he goes wide with his buddy, maybe green has an opportunity to end up in a two boat, right? Let's make this very simple. Green wants to sail the maximum distance he can while still getting his target on starboard and with mark room. Okay? So best case scenario for green is he's able to sail all the way over here, right? This guy's here on him. Can green jibe now?
Yeah.
It's his proper course with mark room to jibe. Okay, so he gets to start turning to the mark room there so that he actually jibes on the starboard, right? So a lot of times we think like you have to have that gap to be able to pull off that jibe, right? And for the most part you do, but if they follow you so much that your proper course is to jibe onto starboard, then you can actually jibe onto starboard even though they're right next to you, right? You can't jibe onto starboard from here if you're just jibing too close, right? Because it's not your proper course. But if they follow you all the way over here, then you can actually jibe onto starboard like from here, right? And now you're still hurting this guy. You've sailed all that distance. He's falling for it because he didn't expect you to let this guy go, right? And then you have to hold the two, and somehow, hopefully, in all this chaos, one of your teammates gets by, right? And if you come out of this mark in a 2-4-5 even, that's better than the 1-5-6, okay? Because you can actually potentially make plays from there. All right, so really simple. If you're the one in this 1-5-6, keep in mind this is like you're already getting smoked, so yellow doesn't have to do too much right here to come away winning, right? Green has to do everything right. So, in summary, clog up the race as much as green possibly can at mark 3, hold the 1. Keep the 1 here, okay? Because if they get someone on this side of you on this leg, now this boat can play back on you and just turn it into a 1-2 very easy, right? So the green's clogging up, compressing the race as much as possible around 3. Then we get to around 4, and he wants to do the Brit move or the lorry or whatever you call it. It's just a jibe at mark 4. Let one boat go and keep the jibe onto starboard in mind. Okay? And use as much distance. The goal is to spend as much distance and as much time as possible, right? So I think sometimes with the guy chasing right on this guy, he doesn't realize he could actually even just be more patient, and just keep going what appears to be the wrong way, right? This guy's gone. He rounds. You want to, you let him pass at the mark in the zone, so he can't screw with you. He's going to sail on to the next leg. If he tries to play with you, you have mark room, right? You can't really turn around from that position. All right, and then you jibe, and that's that. Okay, so we saw a couple people letting boats go at Mark 3, and then we saw a couple people not getting this jibe maneuver off and just not getting anything done at Mark 4. This is like game time. This boat has to make something happen or it's race over, if that's 156. Okay? Cool.